It's Sixth Sense.
Nikki Sixx Sense. Jen's here. What's up, Jen?
Hi, Nikki.
You look good today.
Oh, thanks.
Steve Vai is here with us. I'm very excited you're here,
today,
buddy.
Steve.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
Look very pretty yourself.
You go on.
I have to tell Jen this story. So my son Gunnar was born. It's creepy of you to say he's so hot whenever you see him.
He is gorgeous.
And I didn't know anything about being a dad. I was like, oh my God, what is this thing, this mess? What have I got myself into? I'm in a heavy metal band. We're called Motley Crue. We just break things down. What's nursing, cuddling?
He's going to find out all about me when I get
Yeah, my God. And then I get this
like
package.
me.
I get this package from Steve.
Is it a baby?
I'm so glad it wasn't.
another one.
Another one. But here's a twin.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, you left one at the hospital. You don't know anything about being a parent. And it had, if I remember correctly, it had motor oil, diapers.
Yeah. All the
Might have been hot sauce. I don't know.
yeah.
But that's kind of how we started, hanging out and talking stuff. And just come out to the house. And
What do you said, Nikki Sixx's son? You know, when
Yeah.
he was born, it was just
motor oil.
chain and all sorts of funny
Oh,
stuff.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But then
What does Sixx's kids play with?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Probably. Yeah. Yeah. So,
Yeah, I remember when that was all going down. There was
good times.
How many kids do you have?
4.
actually? 4. Wow.
Yeah. And you're a 2, right?
Yeah.
You're a 2. You're a 2.
I'm a,
Well, they're older now. You know, do your kids play?
No, they don't actually, but they got great taste in music. All the stuff that I hear. One of them, my older one, Julian, he is really into like heavy, like you know that new heavy stuff, that underground stuff. Not the death metal as much, but he's got great taste. So I get a lot of bands through the years through him. And my other son,
Isn't
Fire,
that cool?
Yeah, it's great.
Those bands have really great riffs.
Yeah, they do. Some of them are really
great
good.
guitar players,
Some of the guitar players are just out of their mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's got to be cool.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear how the underground has been moving.
Yeah.
You know, and my other son, Fire, he's really into techno and all that kind of scene. So I would get all this really cool techno stuff in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My oldest son makes kind of, I guess it's EDM, but I think it's kind of theater of the mind stuff. It's like dramatic Prince EDM. I don't know. It's interesting because he doesn't really play an instrument. A little bit, like I put him through the School of Rock thing.
Oh yeah,
when they were younger, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, that is a cool model.
It's a really cool thing, and they all got to play and stuff. But yeah, I did that. But I don't know. I was just thinking, your kids would either be like mini Frank Zappas or just say I'm not touching that.
No, they fool around a little bit. Probably like your kids play. Do yours play?
A little bit.
A little bit, you know. But my one son Fire is into music publishing. He's studying publishing. He's been to school for it. He's going to Europe next month for interning. Yeah, I told him that's the best kept secret in the music business.
Yeah.
You know. And Julian, the older one, is a ultrasound engineer.
Oh wow!
Yep. And he grows weed. Yeah.
Perfect.
Amazing.
On the side.
Those ultrasound engineers make good money.
Yeah, he's just getting out. He just finished the schooling, so he's doing.
That's
good.
awesome.
Yeah, he's just starting to kick in.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you have the Vi Academy.
Yep.
That's happening January 3rd through the 7th. And now it says 4 days of nonstop guitar. Is it really?
Well, if you were to put a microphone to the building, you'd probably not hear a moment where there wasn't guitar playing in some room.
Yeah.
But it's really great. We've been doing it. This is the 4th one. And, I've always liked being a part of that kind of thing. And they're really great events because they're not like in a school or anything. They're actually in a nice resort. We did one in upstate New York. We did one at Asilomar up in Carmel. This one is in Palm Springs, and it's great. We get about 200 kids, and all these other people come in that give little classes and stuff.
Is it more than just like guitar? They talk about the industry.
Well, the first one I did, it talked a lot about the industry because I brought people through making a song, writing it, publishing it, starting your own publishing company, registering it, recording it.
Wow, that's fantastic, because people don't really know that stuff.
Yeah. I'd love to have you come to one of my...
I'd be into that.
Yeah, just give a class for an hour and a half, talk to the kids. They love it. They'd
be great. I could talk to them.
The youngest? You're not going to...
I'm not going.
No.
She won't let me go.
I want to go with you.
Oh, my God.
No, you're going to go.
Hey, if there's any place you want to be in January, it's Palm Springs.
That's true.
Yeah.
And this year we got Steve Morse joining.
Oh, wow.
And Annie Clark, St. Vincent.
Yeah.
And Yngwie.
Wow.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, it's going to be
so,
great.
kind of give me a breakdown of what it is. I can understand a little more.
The first year, I've been traveling. I've been on tour for 37 years.
Yeah.
And I hear these kids. I hear what they're interested. I hear what they're looking for.
Yeah.
And, we have so much experience touring and stuff you're just not going to learn. You know the business.
Yeah.
You can go to school and you can learn, but you're not going to get it until you're actually in it.
Well, it's nice when someone can kind of mentor you or, share the up and down of it.
Yeah.
They can read some stuff in books or even go to school for it, but there's nothing like real hand-to-hand
There's nothing that's really going to teach you about even just the business, even the simple things you got to know to protect yourself.
Yeah.
You register your songs, you start a publishing company, you got to understand where, because a lot of artists, they just feel like, well, I'll just play the music. I'm not interested in the business.
Sure. Well, it's a mistake because then you can't make music for 37 or plus years.
Right. Especially when you're an instrumental guitar player.
Right.
And then you've got a lot of people that are interested in some of the academics of music. So there's all the, classes on technique and theory and stuff like that. But it's themed. So the first year was really great because what we did was, like I said, all these classes started out with writing a song, publishing it, creating your own publishing company. It's really easy these days. Registering it, recording it. I had people there recording it, and I wrote a song and recorded it. We had 150 guitar players on it.
Wow,
fantastic,
so amazing.
Cool. Yeah, and I
there's like a basic track, and then guys get to come in and.
I recorded the basic track right in front of everybody. And then I had. All these guitar players standing over there. I gave them little melodies.
Yeah.
It's great. It's on iTunes. It's called Flash Mob. It came out really good.
Wow.
And then we taught people how to, had people come in, attorneys that talked. I had people come in to talk about marketing, how to, monetize, because these days there's a lot of opportunity, but it's
different opportunities.
Opportunities.
People need to understand the streaming platform and how to monetize that, or or not. Use it as a tool.
Yeah, and also just the marketing ideas and how to put it up online.
Yeah, you've always had a marketing brain, and even with the imagery of everything, with your album covers and just everything you do, all the way down to like the colors of your guitars. It always felt consistent. I've always believed that like an artist, whether it's a reggae artist like Bob Marley, it feels consistent. Color wise, music wise, thematically, it's a you're all in or you're all out. Kiss is a great example of that, obviously.
And you too, of course.
I mean, it feels complete when all the pieces are in place.
Well, you saying that reminds me something pretty funny. One time we were in your studio. This was years ago. And you showed me a list that you had found from back in the days when you were doing the strip with the band.
Yeah.
And how the list had everything on it that you needed to accomplish for the show.
Yeah.
And like fake blood, and all this stuff. And I was so impressed by that because that's what I do. I make little lists. I mean, I'm not necessarily looking for fake blood, but And I thought, of course, I tell people that. I tell two stories about you. That's one of them because it shows you can still be, in a really intense, aggressive music, but there's a vision, and there's a follow through, and there's no compromising, and that's always the way you've been.
Yeah.
And I hope you don't mind me telling this story, but it's so impressive. I got to just say, I have
no idea what he's going to say.
All right. Well, okay. So correct me if I'm wrong here. Okay, so Motley Crue.
God, I hope he's not wrong. He's been telling it.
Oh, no. Motley Crue was kicking off. Very intense young men, doing their thing, struggling and making lists. And finally got the deal.
Yeah.
And went into the studio and recorded the record
Yep.
or was in the process of recording it. Now, one of the big fears that that so many young musicians face is, am I ever going to get signed? Is the record company going to try to change what I do? Are they going to, let me be me or whatever?
Yeah.
And many times they come in and they make the
we like you guys. You got to cut your hair, and maybe
I like this song, but maybe it needs this. So Nikki told me the story where they were in the studio and they finally, for the first time, invited somebody down from the label, and the guy comes in, and he was Cherokee Recording Studio.
It was Cherokee Recordings. I think it was Tom Zutaut.
Oh my God, yeah, Tom Zutaut.
Yeah.
And the band is all excited. They're going to play the music, and they busted their hump on this music for whatever. And the music stops, and Tom says something like, maybe I think you should. And before he could even finish the sentence, Nikki grabs the guy. And now this is what you told me, dragged him, actually literally dragged him out of the studio into the street.
Yep.
Kicked him into the street, shut the door, and called the label and said, no one from the labels are allowed to come and listen to the music until we're done. And then you had that worked into your contracts.
Yep, that's right.
Okay.
It's true. It's absolutely true.
It's true.
Because he came down.
That's a story that needs to be told.
They signed a band that they believed in, who had made a record because no record company wanted to sign us. So I followed the punk rock model, found a distribution, figured out how to, press the record, figured out how to publish everything, and we released it. We sold 40,000 copies. Now everyone wants to sign the band. That's great. Yeah. We succeeded, right? They put out that first record. Second record, one Steve's talking about, Shout at the Devil, that record, they were like, okay, great, let's put the band in the studio, but let's send somebody down there to make sure it's the record that we want. And we didn't really understand that. We're like, well, wait a minute, you gave us the money to make the record that we know how to make. We didn't understand. Yeah. But it was important. I think it's important for artists to maintain your position artistically. Now, that being said, at 20-some years old, I think my behavior would be different now. I'd probably have a conversation about, where the direction is. But I do miss some of that piss and vinegar of young bands. Yeah.
And sometimes the A&R guys can make valuable suggestions and whatnot, but it's the...
Yeah, sometimes they are valuable. I was talking to an artist recently and was telling me about some frustrations they had with the A&R guy. And, as a joke, I said, what's he look like? Does he have a man bun and a beard? And they laughed and said, well, how did you know?
Shot in the dark.
Well, I mean, the reason I said that was a lot of the A&R guys try to fit in with what's trendy so that they can get the trust of the artist to get done what the label needs to get done when the label's not in the streets fighting for it. So the label doesn't really know. Yeah. They're a bank, right? They're a bank, and in my case, we have a marketing company, so that they work together and you promote something. But you have to be very careful that you don't let the wrong person influence you, because it could be a career mistake. Yeah. At the same time, you have to be open enough to understand if someone has a good idea, then it's best for everybody.
Yeah, you got to be in touch with your own creative instincts, because then if somebody gives a suggestion that touches that instinct, then you're willing to move with them.
Yes.
And a good A&R guy knows how to. They see the band and they don't try to change. You can't change somebody. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
You have to pull out of them the best that they can be.
That's right.
And some guys can do that, and some guys, they're just as...
How do you A&R Steve Vai? I mean, you have everything. I understand, from knowing you for so many years. Basically, your fingers are in everything. It all moves with you, and it's your vision. Yeah. But if someone was to come in and work with you, how would that work?
Well, people have. When I have my own label. Yep. I have my own label for 20 years, but oddly enough, I've been signed to Sony. Mm-hmm. But through my whole career, I've had no problem at all, because they're like, okay, it's Vai. I can't do anything that they want. I'm just not capable, and I have this quirky, I'm quirky, and I have a particular vision, and I never felt I never felt that what I was doing was worthy of great success, so I never worried about it, and I just did what I wanted. And luckily, I found an audience. But
Yeah.
I've been lucky enough that anytime I did have somebody working with me, they were kind of inspired. Like Kolodner. Kolodner is, you know, as crazy as he was and funny as he was my guy through some of the epic years, and he made valuable suggestions.
Yeah.
And the ones he made that didn't resonate, I just like, no, I can't do it.
Right. Like a path that there's not a lot of you have taken, being an instrumental guitarist.
Yeah.
And how thick is the competition out there?
Well,
Is that a weird word, competition?
I don't really. I mean, there was a time in my life where I felt I was competing, but it was early on, you know. And now all the people that are what would be perceived as my competitors, we all work together.
Yeah,
you know,
I've seen you do that, which I
Yeah.
think is so cool for the instrument and for the fan.
Yeah, I just put this great tour together and sort of band, and it's called Generation Axe. And we did a tour.
Great name.
Yeah, it's well, that was Nuno's idea.
That's a good one.
And it's
what a great player he is.
Yeah, and it's me. It's one backing band.
Okay.
And it's me, Nuno, Zach,
Yeah.
Ingve,
Yeah.
and Tosin Abasi.
Wow.
And it's just I had this vision years ago to do this thing where it's 5 players and one band, because you know when you get one band up and then there's a break and then another band and then maybe they come together in the end and jam and it's a mess. You know?
Yeah.
You know, I've been through a lot of those. And the thing is it's organized. You know, it's like we come out and we opened the show with Foreplay. Dun, 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 dun. You know that song?
Yeah.
Imagine 5 guitars in harmony.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
It was blow away, man.
Yeah.
And then we did some of the other ensemble pieces we did were like Frankenstein.
Okay.
But I arranged it.
Yeah.
And everybody had parts, and it just was incredible. And Highway Star.
Yeah.
And then there was duo stuff. So everybody gets to play songs of their own, and then some duo and trio. And it was really a great show. And we did America, and it was great, man. And then we did Asia not too long ago. Now we got a European tour coming up next year.
I want to see that.
Oh, it's great. And those guys are so fun to tour with. They're just
I
crazy,
bet.
man. They just
How do you tour, like on the buses?
Yeah, we do bus tour.
buses.
I love
tour buses.
Man, the tour bus is the best.
I want a tour bus in my
man.
house
I
somewhere.
want to know what a bus full of guitar players is like, though.
Oh, it's funny. We stay up until.
Oh God, I bet you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one day, the first week, I woke up one day and my jaw was locked, and I'm thinking, what do I got? You know, immediately it's like, there's something wrong with me. It was from laughing so hard the night before, you know.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, you got to find the balance.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
But yeah, I love the tour bus. Always have.
Yeah.
Sleep as late as you want. It's your own little kind of.
I've always thought like that would just in my bedroom. I could just, or in a closet, just a bunk.
Can you imagine? Like, Nikki, hold on. Let me get.
I'm in my bus bunk.
Yeah, right. And he has the curtain. The whole
And
thing.
now it's like, you know, you can go in there and like meditate and go on Instagram. You can you can just like, I'm so happy with all this.
What much more do you need?
I go
right?
home and I'm like, what is this front room?
I know the feeling. And when that's when that's your world, that's your world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what a pain it is to do a plane tour.
You know, I never got to ask you this question. I made some notes and stuff, and you know, I've known about you taking guitar lessons from Joe, and you were 12. I always wondered, was that like a cold start at 12 years old, or you've already been playing?
No.
I
was 12 or 13, and it was a cold start because
yeah. How did you go from 12 or 13 to 18 with Zappa?
I busted my ass.
I mean, how many hours a day?
Well,
8 hours?
it was according to the day.
Okay.
You know, usually I wasn't happy unless I got 9 hours.
Yeah.
You know, but except Friday nights. Fridays and Saturday nights, I always went out with my friends.
Did you go to
caused a lot
high
of
school?
trouble. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I would just practice all the time. It was just constant, you know?
Yeah.
And except Friday and Saturday nights.
But that's cool you do that, because a lot of musicians will say, I never had any social life. And when I got older, I wasn't able to have really relationships because I was I was here
Yeah.
for 10 years.
Yeah.
And then one day I was in a band, and then I was like, everything was like about me.
Well,
And
how
then-
old were you when you got into a band, though?
I mean, I was 17-ish, punk bands and
Mhm.
stuff. You know, we weren't very good, but it was just, it doesn't matter if you're good or
You're
great.
making noise.
It's just following the passion.
Yeah.
You know, I was telling you, I just started taking guitar lessons. I always just like play just basic rhythm chords to get the idea out, and
Yeah.
it seemed to work okay.
Yeah.
And then I got to a point, maybe about a year ago, when I was still in Motley. I was like, what happened to my musicianship? Because we'd turned into a machine and not a band. And there was like, I could never get the band to want to play more than just the hits. I had all kinds of weird ideas. I go, let's create mini sets that, like, on a Monday, we play that mini set in the middle, and on a Tuesday, we have another mini set. So just for us, you know, we still play the hits.
Yeah.
You know, let's create sections. Let's have 20 cover songs, and then each band member it's their turn. They get to pull the 2 cover songs.
Right.
Anything to keep lubricated. And so I just kept, same thing. And I got home and I was like, I miss being a musician, not being in a machine.
Yeah.
I love the success of that. So I just started taking guitar lessons and bass lessons.
That's so cool.
And vocal lessons. And I was
Really?
like, wow. Like, first of all, I hadn't realized what I had lost, but what I had always had was passion.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm playing 4 or 5 hours a day.
Now?
Which I haven't done. Yeah.
Good for you, man.
Now. And my wife's like, I understand. Like, I set the alarm 2 hours early, 3 hours early every day. Do that. We do our night. And then she's like, I get it. She goes to bed. I stay up till whatever hour. As long as I can balance my life.
Well, like, what are you practicing? Like, when you get up 2 or 3 hours, this is important because I try to tell the same thing to the people I teach and stuff. Like, what do you play?
I have on Sundays, I have a teacher that comes over.
Okay.
And we're basically focusing around in kind of the blues world.
Okay.
I'm just wanting to go back and dive into that.
Mm-hmm.
Then on my own, I have a couple lessons I take online, a couple of guys I think are really interesting. And then I have stuff that I haven't done, which, like, for Steve, he may be, it's interesting. But being in a band, I quit working on a metronome. I worked with the drummer.
Right.
So now I'm specifically only working with the metronome.
A metronome or a drum machine?
A metronome.
Oh, wow.
Just working with the metronome. Really precise, really trying to push and pull and work with it and really, like, get to know where my strengths and weaknesses are, because I'm going to have a lot of strengths from all the years, but also I have a lot of strength about being able to jump from me to you and hit the downbeat, but that doesn't mean if you're really listening, it's right.
Right.
So I'm kind of starting to dive into that side of it, and it's exciting.
That's so great.
And guitar, which is not my instrument.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a little bit, I just like sometimes post little videos of me playing guitar online, and a couple of my guitar friends are like, wow, that's like really cool. I know it's not great, but you see, nothing like being vulnerable.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's how you, being vulnerable allows, it creates a radar that allows you to learn finer nuances because you're not afraid of letting people know that you don't know.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I remember when I was talking to a friend of mine, if he knew anybody would be good for, giving lessons. And first thing is, you don't need lessons. You're Nikki Sixx. I go, what is that supposed to mean?
No,
what does that
there's
even?
People I would like to take lessons.
What does that even mean?
Yeah.
Like that's a stage thing. What's this mean over here? There's people you would like to take lessons from?
Mm-hmm.
Like?
Well, people that have everybody has a particular ear and they hear things a certain way. And sometimes I'm fascinated by it, And like Scott Henderson, this is like outside kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Just like his ear on the guitar is a little bizarre in a way, But it maybe wouldn't be a lesson. It would be, let's kind of trade some ideas and stuff,
Yeah.
And Tosin Abasi, Tosin from Animals as Leaders?
Yeah, I love that band.
Oh my God, because he was on tour with me in Generation X, and he's got some stuff going on that's like just contemporary alien.
And that bass player, like a monster.
Yeah, and his whole approach to rhythm, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not anything that I've heard. You know, I mean, a lot of these bands, Meshuggah and these guys, are doing all these superimposed rhythms and polymeters and stuff like that. When I listen to Tosin's stuff, it's like, whoa. And I'm like, what are you doing? What is that? Because I've got a pretty good ear to, and he goes, well, it's just in 4/4, and I don't know. I'm just playing, and I'm like, so it's something inside of him, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
There is that, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah, you see that with different musicians.
Yeah.
So you're always playing. You're always recording.
Well, I'm always doing something.
You're always doing something. Do you ever practice?
Oh, yeah. You know, with everything that I have to do during the day, like right now I'm mixing a potential live Generation X CD.
Yeah.
I just got off tour. I just did 150 shows around the world. And
that's a lot of touring.
Yeah. Oh, that was usually my tour before that was 252 shows in 54 countries or something like that. I still love touring, you know?
Yeah.
And so what was I talking about?
Well,
right now you're in the studio.
The projects.
Oh, yeah. So I've got all these projects, but whatever I'm doing, I always try to take an hour every night before I go to bed and just play. I lock the door, turn off the phone and everything, and just play. Now, sometimes I'll be playing all day if I'm recording.
And you've got that fulfilled.
Yeah.
What would you, what type of stuff would you practice?
I look for ideas, and then I exaggerate them.
Okay.
You know, I look for ideas, and sometimes I create limitations. Like, okay, I'm just going to play on one string with one finger for an hour, and you're forced into finding unique things that can only come from your inner ideas. You know, your inner concept. Because who are you going to copy when you got one finger and one string? You know, and in order to keep yourself entertained, you got to remain really focused. Or I'll take 3 notes and just work them. See how many different ways can I play these 3 notes. It sounds kind of really limiting and boring. It's not boring, man.
Well, especially, a lot of times you'll hear young bands, and bands, maybe they've only been playing a couple of years, and you'll hear this like,
right.
And you're like, what is that?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just one string and just the octave, and that's all it is. And you're like, that's so exciting.
Yeah.
That's good advice for me, and I think for anybody listening.
Yeah, you just find an idea that doesn't sound like anything else that you've heard and exaggerate it.
Yeah. That's good advice.
I love that.
That's a great
I can't wait to see what you come up with now.
My wife's like, there, and there you went.
Yeah, right.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Oh.
What's been some of your favorite? I know you with Roth. I remember watching the whole you guys and Roth.
Oh yeah,
that was amazing.
That was fun days.
Those are fun stuff.
It
and
was.
Being a huge Van Halen fan.
Yeah.
I was like, when Roth left, I was like, I didn't get it. I was still kind of young enough where I was like, what do you mean? It's one for all and all for one. And then when you guys came out, it was just, nothing against Van Halen. I just felt like it was that next level. If there was a next level or a linear level.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
How long did that run for?
Well, it's funny, Nikki, when.
Because it feels like it was short.
No, it was I think
5 6 years.
Yeah, 6 years. Yeah. I felt the same way about Van Halen. I mean, loved them. I mean, come on, And Dave Roth was just Dave Roth, know. And but when I heard that he had left the band, the weirdest thing, because I'm a little quirky. I'm not very conventional when it comes to if somebody said, "Oh, he's a great rock guitar player." I don't really fit in the blues or any particular genre perfectly. I'm kind of all over.
Great place to be.
But something told me when he was looking for a guitar player that it was my gig. I don't know why. It was just, okay. I'm waiting. And the next day he calls.
Well, it was for us that were Van Halen fans, and obviously there's Eddie.
Yeah.
You can't get away from that.
No.
I mean, it's guy changed stuff. And we were like, oh, yeah, well, okay, this makes sense.
Yeah, well, the thing is I didn't try to compete with him because you can't. You don't. Deep respect. Edward, for me, was just icon. And there's not very many icons. Right. I mean, guys that really were game changers.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, there's Hendrix and there's Edward. And there's other really great players. I mean, for me, it was Jimmy Page. But really, so as you can imagine, being a guitar player and getting that gig, you don't.
Was there a moment where you had to go, how am I going to handle this?
No.
In your head?
No.
You knew instinctually.
Yeah,
You're like, I'm not going to compete.
No.
I'm going to be me.
Yeah.
You've already developed like who you are as a player, obviously.
Yeah, I was working on it, and that experience helped define it.
How old were you?
Oh, geez, I don't remember. 25?
Wow.
Something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it was a great experience because right away, there's another quote that I heard from you. You said, next thing you know, you're in Niels Lozauer's photography studio.
Yeah, it's true,
Remember
right?
you told me
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
That's what happened to me. Next thing I knew, I'm with Niels taking photos.
Those photos are great, too.
Yeah.
I just saw one the other day where you guys were all doing this. Like,
oh, my God, boy. The days where you can wear anything you want.
anything. Yeah, there's
Get
some
away
color
with it.
combinations.
Oh, my God.
Steve came up with color combinations. I
was
think
my
you own that word, color combination.
Demolished sense of fashion.
What's been
But it was fun.
It was fun.
I miss some of that.
Yeah,
fun.
some of the colors from that period just aren't represented today. They're different.
Well, I think we hit an age where we're not allowed to wear certain colors.
well, patterns at least.
Like I don't think anything in the
fluorescent pink isn't going to
any
work.
fluorescence. They're off. Okay, if it starts with a fluorescent, it's out. Fluorescent black's even out.
Right.
That'd be bad. So I mean that was like a game changer. White
those
Snake.
were fun days. Yeah, and then
But the Zappa seems like the one. I don't know why I feel that's your biggest heart. That's.
yeah.
I mean,
Because-
I'm kind of asking you.
Yeah, because Frank represented something that I was attracted to before I even knew his music. Because when I was young, we're influenced by the music that's in the house.
Yeah.
And my parents had West Side Story, and they were Italian polka CDs and records.
Yeah.
78s,
Yeah.
But when I heard West Side Story, because that's what was being played, that was badass because it had gangs in it, it had drama,
That's right.
incredible melody, incredible orchestration, and I immediately felt like I wanted to be a composer. I wanted to understand the written music and completely own it, and I did. I studied it intensely when I was young, and I've written many, symphonies, and I have records out with orchestra and stuff like that. So that's one aspect that I was very attracted to. I was very quirky and silly, and I also loved the guitar. I liked, intense guitar playing, and I liked rock. As soon as I heard Led Zeppelin when I got older, that was it. So then when Zappa came along, he had all these elements. You know what I mean? He did composition stuff. Some of his stuff it's just the melody is just incredible, but his inspiration for going really deep into gear or notation, musical notation, or weird riffs and stuff like that, or lyrics. I mean, he was a wordsmith of doom.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
I remember working in a record store and putting a Zappa record on, and you either got it or you didn't get it, or maybe you didn't get it, but you're gonna get it eventually.
Maybe you got pieces of it.
Yeah. Lyrically, it was just like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
My brain was like, as soon as I hear something weird, I'm like, I have to figure out what that meant. You could never figure out what it meant.
Yeah. Frank was
Eccentric.
eccentric in a sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
But because he was doing all these elements of different things, I was really attracted to it. So I got into his music. And at the same time in the 70s, there was Led Zeppelin, Queen was really big for me, Deep Purple, Sabbath, Kiss, Alice Cooper was huge.
Yeah.
But then again, I was listening to Leonard Bernstein, Stravinsky, and all these things, and kind of my brain just mixed this stuff up and kind of get the music I get. I'm lucky, Nikki. I was
going to say you're so lucky. I mean, it just like brought up all these like memories for myself of going to see my mom in Seattle, and she had like such an eclectic record collection.
Really?
And I would be adding to it, but she had like folk and weird stuff like Petulia Clark. This one, Downtown, and I remember that sticking in my
song
head.
When I was a kid, yeah.
It blew my mind. It's those weird things that you don't realize actually influence you till later. Jimmy Dean, Big Bad John.
Yeah, you remember that one?
Story. Like it influenced me as a lyricist.
And do you remember the B-side of Big Bad John?
I don't.
It was, what was it? It was Little Joe or something like that. It was another story.
Another story.
Yeah.
But I remember hearing that on the radio, and I was just like, it's like hearing like what we were talking about, the Zappa stuff.
Yeah.
It's like,
Stories.
there's a story there, and I started writing short stories. And that's like kind of always led in all the way up, even in like Dr. Feelgood. I was like, I need to write more stories, you know?
Yeah.
So it's interesting, like what's around us actually becomes us. Be like a fun experiment. Yeah, those kind of like
that
a boom.
Deep, yeah.
You should get pregnant. Not from anybody in here.
Okay.
And we'll have a child. You'll have a child.
Okay.
We'll send you motor oil.
Okay.
And then we'll just get this crazy, I guess, streaming collection.
Yeah.
And just see what kind, because we could literally form what a child would be like. I do believe that musically.
Yeah. We could mold a musician.
Yeah.
Would he automatically be the guitar player though? Or do we don't have any control over it? Right.
If he's smart.
He likes what's cool.
Right.
I remember walking into Steve's house one time and just coming from like kind of punk rock, T-Rex, just simple rock and roll riffs and stuff.
T-Rex, yeah.
And Steve was writing, and I said hi, and he goes, just 1 second. Very nice. Second. Almost done. Okay. Hey, Nikki, how are you? And I was curious, like, what was that? He goes, I just finished the symphony. And it was the first time I'd ever experienced anything like that. I was so grateful for that moment.
Wow.
Because I asked him, have you played it? And he goes, I haven't played it yet. I just wrote it. And that was so mind-blowing for me. And I know that you came through that world.
Yeah.
But like, that was just a great moment for me. I tell that story a lot.
Oh, thanks.
You went to Berkeley, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my real musical training for that kind of stuff started when in 7th grade. I had this wild teacher, and he was a music theory teacher, and all through high school he taught me all that stuff. So it's like anything. It's just a language.
Right.
All you got to do is understand the language, and I'm not exceedingly intelligent or anything like that. I mean, if I could do that, anybody really can. You just sit and most people are just intimidated by it because it's little black dots.
Sure.
But it's like words, and you hear the melodies in your head
all the time.
Yeah. And when you it's just a little work, and you develop your ear and the connection between the melody in your head and your ear and what it's supposed to look like on paper. And then it's like writing. You can hear.
It makes sense because you explained that to me. And
do you remember that song we wrote?
Yeah. I have a great story. This is like one of my worst moments of my life. Okay. It involves Steve.
Okay.
Really?
So we were at his place and his beautiful studio, and we were like goofing around with some ideas. And this is how I remember it anyway. I hope maybe it's not true. And I said, let me just show you this thing. And I just like something like literally like an AC/DC thing, like like that. And I just froze, and I went, I should never have showed Steve how to play anything on guitar. I think I even said that to you.
What?
I was like, oh, sorry, dude.
You know what I remember?
Oh, okay.
Yes.
For some reason, sometimes I can't. I won't remember like when one part goes to another. Mm-hmm. I can remember like a lot of hard stuff, but simple stuff sometimes is hard. And we were writing that song. What was the song? Driving down the freeway.
Yeah.
It's a 1974. It's a great song.
That's great.
New Generation, I think.
New Generation.
Yeah. And
I do remember that now. That was a good song. What happened to that?
I put a singer on it. I got it. It's a great little track. I have to send it to you.
Okay, yeah, I want to hear it.
Yeah, I got your email.
Okay, yeah.
And I remember, it's funny that you remember that, and what I remember is Nikki going, okay, so let's take it from the top, right? And I'm like, okay. And we got to this one part, and I just kept screwing up. I just kept going to the wrong part, but he kept going to the right part. And there was one point where you looked at me, and I know there was like, wait a minute, you're Steve Vai. You're supposed to like be able. Then I'm like, no, that's a myth, man.
See, I don't remember it that way.
I remember.
It's funny how our brains remember things. But I forgot about that song. That's amazing. Yeah. So tell me what's up right now for you.
So this last show that I did on my tour was in Norway at this science convention called Starmus, and it was a 6-day science convention with all the greatest minds in the world.
Wow.
Right? It was about 4,000 or 5,000 people. It was like 6 days. There was like 11 Nobel laureates there.
Yeah.
Prize winners and 3 astronauts. And Brian May was at the foundation of this Starmus organization. It celebrates arts and science and because he's an astrophysicist. Did you know that?
Yeah. I've read that. I follow some of his stuff.
Yeah.
That he does.
So he helped form this with like some other scientists and Brian Eno and Peter Gabriel and these kinds of guys. And they were working on their fourth one, which was this year, which was bigger than ever. But Brian couldn't do the musical directing because Steve was on a Queen tour. So they asked me to do it. So I had this great opportunity to write a bunch of stuff for the orchestra. And it was a Stephen Hawking celebration. He was supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Wow.
And at the last hour, he has a doctor that says either you can go or you can't. So
right.
this particular time he couldn't. But it was really a great event. It was totally different than anything. You know?
Why Norway?
Because it was held in, Norway's a pretty substantial country in regards to the arts, and they're the richest country. And they just really receptive to this kind of thing.
Historically, great artists have come out of Norway.
Yeah.
Painters.
Yeah.
Great painters.
Yeah, and it was in Trondheim. And it was fantastic, but that was the last thing. And then...
what a send-off.
Yeah.
That's such a cool story.
Yeah, it was so great.
So you're going to take some time now? I mean, I know you're mixing a record, but like as far as going on the road, you're going to stay home for a bit?
Yeah, well, I got this one show in India next month.
Just India.
Look,
India.
Not Chicago. I got to go to India. I'll be right back.
Let me tell you, man.
I was going to say I'm going to come to the show, but
nah.
I'm going to make that one.
I am too.
2.5 days to get there.
Yeah.
For one 70-minute set. And I turned it down for years until they offered so much money. You just can't say no, you know.
Yeah.
Plus, I've been to India a bunch of times, but I never performed there.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to see what everybody tells me it's really cool. This place where we're going, it's just like, it's way out, man. It's like 3 hours, a 3-hour drive outside of a small town that's an hour flight from Delhi.
Wow.
So it's like way in the sticks, you know.
Yeah.
But they got a festival that they do there. So that's really, besides that, I'm just working, going to work on the Generation X CD.
Yeah.
Then starting next year, I got the camp. And I'm just... What I'm doing now, you know, Nick, I don't know, my music and my records are pretty dense, pretty eclectic, kind of compositional sometimes. And what a lot of people just really want me to do is just make guitar record, you know, instrumental guitar record. So I did that once, and now I'm going to work on that again. I'm working on this project that's got. It goes from very kind of clean trio.
Okay.
Just trio all the way through to like the heaviest
that's
thing.
cool.
I had this guitar made. Oh my God. It's so wild. It's got seven strings. It's got a 12-string fretless. It's got a bass that's half fretless. It's got all these sympathetic strings.
Wow.
And I've got these blowers on it that blow smoke and all sorts of stuff. And I'm just going to tune that puppy way down.
Tune it down and have a blast. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Wow.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
And
then more
creating.
touring.
You're always going to be creating.
Yeah, and then a lot of other kind of bizarre projects with holographic technology and orchestras around the world. And
I think that's the future, personally.
I do too.
I really do.
Yeah.
I've been saying for years, at some point, you're going to get the iPhone 410.
Yeah, right.
And you're just going to be like, oh, there's Steve Vai performing for me right there. Psh,
Yep.
Just going to pop up for...
Or you'll be at the concert, and it'll be all around you.
All around you,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I hope I'm around to see that.
Well, you'll see the porn version first.
Yeah, Well, I don't think I'll get in trouble from the wife for that one. I asked her, there's a little age difference in me and her, and I said, so when I'm like in my 90s, I'm planning on hitting 100. So I said 90, the last 10 years out, can I just have like a free pass? I don't want to like sleep with anybody, but can I have like hologram naked nurses and all that stuff? And she said no.
Maybe she'll change her mind once she sees it happen. You know what I mean? You're more likely to ask for forgiveness.
I have an IV drip with Cialis in it.
Yeah.
Just
Cialis
come on.
and Viagra, yeah.
Come on, please.
I love it.
Well,
There's
maybe
got to
if
be
you-
life in there.
If you include some other kinds of videos.
Oh yeah, some
in there
that's
for her.
Yes. But I love you. I think you're a great guy.
Same here, Nikki. I think I've been thinking about you, and I'm so glad you called. Thanks.
I'm so glad, and we'll stay more connected.
Yeah.
And what I love since the day I met you till even today is, a lot of artists that you've played with and I've played with, and people that we around us, come and go. Mm-hmm. They come and go for a lot of different reasons. Some because of drugs, some because of alcohol, some because of ego, some because of bad management, bad financial planning. It's a dangerous area, the music business. It's the Wild West out there. It doesn't have to be. And what I like about you is I feel that you're always going to be here. You're always going to be here making music, and I just love the idea of being really old and still being creative. I don't like the old part, but I'm not going to have a choice.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I'm 58. So I'm like, you know what? I've had a pretty good life, but I'm not done.
No, they say, well, as far as in the classical community, composers peak between 50 and 70. I think it's all here. It's all in your head.
Yeah.
As long as you get excited about a creative idea, well, why not? That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Be creative and have fun.
I love Instagram because I'm a photographer, so I enjoy it to kind of explore.
Yeah.
And all kinds of all kinds of people. It's pretty cool. You can follow dumb stuff or you can follow inspirational stuff. And there's so many interesting artists out there.
Well, that reminds me, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
When I was at your house once, you had started doing art.
Yes.
And you had a whole bunch of pieces in your living room.
Yeah.
And one of them you were using ketchup.
Yes. Yes.
Have you been continuing doing art?
Yeah. Well, I quit doing that. It's so interesting you brought it up because I went into photography.
Oh.
And I'm going to I'll invite you to my first gallery show.
Oh yeah, you're going to do that in L.A.?
Yeah, it'll
right
be in
on,
LA.
man. I'd love to.
So yeah, it's close to here too. It's right there in Los Angeles. But I was thinking about like ways to integrate creativity with that. Maybe printing the photography itself onto something that then could be manipulated. And I've done a few things like that with acetates and stuff. But for me, it was a lot of fun. Like I did a lot of photography in Italy, and some of it, like my whole rib cage, is my photography. Turned into tattoos. So it's so interesting when you could see something and take a picture of it and then maybe turn it into a tattoo or into a piece of music. There's so many ways to connect, keep connecting, deeper connecting, the words, storytelling, words on top of photos with music being scored to it. It just keeps going.
Yeah. And now with some of the new technology, holography, stuff like that, listen, if you're going to take guitar lessons, you're compelled enough to want to better yourself with things like that now. You're never gonna be bored. You're gonna always be uniquely creative because you always have been.
It's interesting what you say about being bored. I feel that like even people in my family as they got older, they would say things like, I'm bored or don't really have that's just not even.
Have you ever felt bored?
Never.
I don't think I ever felt bored in my life, except once when I was a kid and it was a Sunday. And I remember this because I remember walking around going, I'm bored, but I've never felt that.
No.
I could play the same song over and over and over and I just don't get bored.
That's interesting you bring that up. I've been asked that before. It's like, do you ever get tired of playing Kickstart My Heart? I'm like, how can you get tired of playing something that you love?
And the energy, it's the energy. The song is an excuse for the energy.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. Well, we're going to hang more.
All right.
Okay.
Sounds
Thanks.
good, Nikki. Thank you, brother.
The Sixx Sense.